Zaporizhia in eastern Ukraine comes under intense shelling. Neutral Switzerland clears the path for arms exports, while South Africa probes allegations of weapon shipments to Russia.
And Belgium and Albania are through, but Iceland is out. The first 10 out of 16 countries have qualified for the Eurovision Grand Final.
The sound of anti-aircraft sirens ring out in Zaporizhia. Ukrainian authorities say Russian troops have attacked the region 70 times in the space of 24 hours. At least 8 people across the oblast have been injured after intense shelling on residential buildings. However, the Russian Defense Ministry has denied reports of active combat operations in Zaporizhia and Kherson, after claims of Ukrainian advances at several points along the front. Moscow insists it repelled several attacks in the Donetsk direction. This after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the spring counter-offensive would have to wait until more weapons arrive. The EU's top diplomat Joseph Borrell said Europe is committed to send more weapons to the embattled country. Switzerland, which has intensively debated arms deliveries to Ukraine, is now opening the door to relaxing its laws on neutrality. The Swiss Council Security Policy Commission has cleared the path for arms exports. Meanwhile, the US has welcomed Cape Town's promise to investigate allegations of arms shipments to Russia. The US ambassador to South Africa has accused the country of supplying Moscow weapons, despite its professed neutrality in the war. President Cyril Ramaphosa's office said it was disappointed by the claims and has demanded evidence.
Thousands of migrants gathered at the US-Mexico border on Thursday night ahead of the midnight expiry of Title 42, a rule implemented by Donald Trump during the pandemic. It allowed for immediate deportations of migrants who crossed the border irregularly. The presence of Department of Homeland Security patrols intensified in border towns like El Paso as the United States tried to persuade Latin American migrants fleeing their countries not to attempt to cross the border illegally.
I want to be very clear. Our borders are not open. People who cross our border unlawfully and without a legal basis to remain will be promptly processed and removed.
From now on, Title 8 applies, the rule that has historically governed migration in the United States. But in addition, President Joe Biden's administration has announced new measures further restricting irregular access to asylum seekers. But House Republicans are pushing for a tougher line, and on Thursday passed a sweeping bill to build more US-Mexico border wall and impose new restrictions on asylum seekers.
Motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
At least 30 people have died in the Palestinian enclave as Israeli and Gaza militants enter their 4th day of violence. It's the worst escalation the warring sides have seen in months. One man was killed when a rocket fired from Gaza hit a building in the central Israeli city of Rehovot, the first fatality in Israel since the counter-terrorism operation began. 10 Palestinian civilians were killed in attacks the UN have called unacceptable.
What we want to see is a halt to the fighting. We are concerned about, deeply concerned and condemn all the civilian deaths that we're seeing, and it's important for all the parties involved to respect international law.
Israel claims to have killed 2 Palestinian militant commanders, Ali Hurali and Ahmed Abdu Dacha, top leaders from the armed wing of the Palestinian Islamic jihadists and the Al-Quds. Fighting continued on Thursday night despite Egyptian efforts to broker a ceasefire.
Pakistan's Supreme Court has ruled the arrest of opposition leader Imran Khan illegal in a fresh twist to a political drama that unleashed a wave of violence across the country. The nation's top judge said Khan's detention on Tuesday, as he attended a separate hearing, was contempt of court. Khan remains Pakistan's most popular political figure, and his supporters vented their anger in several cities after his arrest, targeting government buildings and police headquarters. At least 10 people were killed in the unrest, and many more injured, either in attacks by Khan's followers or through the actions of security forces. With the country gripped by political tension, the Supreme Court urged Khan to appeal to his supporters to remain peaceful. He is due to reappear on corruption charges in Islamabad's High Court on Friday.
Turkish presidential candidate Muharrem İnce says he's pulling out of Sunday's presidential election. Polling at around 2%, İnce said he didn't want to be responsible for splitting the opposition vote.
Adaylıktan çekiliyorum. Bunu memleketim için yapıyorum.
The leader of the centre-left Homeland Party, İnce, was one of 4 contenders running for president against incumbent Recep Tayyip Erdogan. İnce had faced heavy criticism for pulling crucial votes away from the 6-party Nation alliance that has united behind opposition leader Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu. Polls have given Kılıçdaroğlu a slight lead over Erdogan, although neither candidate was expected to gain more than 50% of the vote and win the election outright. Now Erdogan's opponents hope İnce's withdrawal could tip the balance in their favour.
At least one person has been injured after a van transporting oxygen cylinders exploded in the centre of Milan. Fire engulfed several other vehicles and spread to nearby buildings, forcing the evacuation of a school and apartments. Euronews reporter Alessio Delana was at the scene as firefighters tackled the blaze.
The explosion originated from a van. The engine of the van caught fire and then detonated around 20 oxygen cylinders that were on the van. There have been several buildings and vehicles engulfed in flames. So far there's one person injured. It's the driver of the van who, according to local reports, managed to get out of the vehicle just moments before the explosion broke out. The fire has now been almost completely put out and the area is cordoned off.
The fire broke out in the Porta Romana area, located in the southeast of the city centre. Police have launched an investigation, but the cause of the original fire wasn't immediately known.
Portugal is clamping down on cigarettes and vaping. A new bill will ban smoking in outdoor spaces next to public buildings such as schools, colleges and hospitals. It will also tighten control over the sale and marketing of cigarettes and other tobacco products in the country, with the aim that by 2025 they'll only be available for purchase in tobacconists, petrol stations and airports. Portugal is thus complying with the European Directive of June 29, 2022, which puts heated tobacco on an equal footing with other tobacco products.
Almost 500,000 young people in Greece have the right to vote for the first time. This generation differs in many ways from previous ones, but also inherits the difficulties left behind by a decade of financial crisis and the coronavirus pandemic. Analysts believe the youth vote could significantly influence the results of the May 21st election.
440.000 παιδιά, δηλαδή μισό εκατομμύριο πολίτες, είναι εγγεγραμμένοι στους εκλογικούς καταλόγους. Σε αυτές τις εθνικές εκλογές καλούνται να ψηφίσουν για πρώτη φορά.
Polls currently show a small lead for the centre-right over the left-wing bloc, but what do young people think?
Πρώτη φορά φέτος θα ψηφίσω. Συζητάμε και με τους γονείς, πού θα επιλέξουμε, τι θα κάνουμε, τι μας φέρει, τι μας συμφέρει.
Με κριτήριο ποιο κόμμα θα έχει καλύτερο πρόγραμμα στην οικονομία και στην παιδεία. Που είναι από τα βασικά πράγματα για τα οποία πρέπει όλοι να ψηφίζουμε και για τα οποία πρέπει να αγωνιζόμαστε βασικά αυτό.
Θα ψηφίσω με δικό μου κριτήριο και έχοντας ψάξει χρόνια και έχοντας κάνει σκέψεις. Έχει ξεκινήσει ήδη η χώρα να έχει μια ανάκαμψη. Θέλουμε να συνεχίσει και θα κάνουμε, πιστεύω ότι γενικότερα οι νέοι πρέπει να συμμετάσχουν σε αυτές τις εκλογές, διότι είναι το μέλλον της χώρας. Πρέπει το μέλλον αυτό να το έχουν, να πάρουν την κατάσταση στα χέρια τους.
Πρώτη φορά φέτος θα ψηφίσω για το συμφέρον της χώρας. Πιστεύω ότι αυτή τη στιγμή η χώρα έχει δείξει μια τεράστια ανάκαμψη επί Νέα Δημοκρατία. Παρ' όλα αυτά, το συμφέρον αυτή τη στιγμή θεωρώ ότι είναι να έχει σταθερή κυβέρνηση. Δεν έχει να κάνει με τα προσωπικά κριτήρια αυτό και ότι θα ψηφίσω και αυτά. Είναι όμως πιστεύω το ιδανικό για τη χώρα.
Ναι, θα ψηφίσω στις εθνικές εκλογές. Δεν ξέρω με την κριτήρια ακόμα, γιατί δεν έχω ενημερωθεί και τόσο πολύ γενικά.
Η ψήφος των νέων θεωρείται ως η πιο αχαρτογράφητη για τα πολιτικά κόμματα. Γι' αυτό και οι πολιτικές παρατάξεις επιδιώκουν μέσω των social media και νεανικών εκφράσεων να τους προσελκύσουν. Από την Αθήνα για το Euronews, Γιώργος Δημητρόπουλος.
Let the Eurovision Song Contest second semi-final begin!
The stage is now set for the grand final of the Eurovision Song Contest in Liverpool on Saturday. Thursday night saw Armenia, Estonia, Belgium, Cyprus, Poland, Slovenia, Austria, Albania, Lithuania and Australia earn their place alongside the 10 winners of the first semi-final.
Absolutely loved it. Everyone did a great job, but Australia, obviously close to my heart, so they did a fantastic job.
The 20 acts which have qualified in the semi-finals will also be joined by last year's winners Ukraine and the Big Five. The Big Five are the main funders of the competition: France, UK, Spain, Germany and Italy, who automatically qualify for the final. And the big question is, who is going to win this year's Eurovision Song Contest?
Moldova, definitely Moldova. I love like the show and I love the music. It's very different. Yeah, my style.
I'm definitely cheering for Finland. I think Finland has really good chances of winning.
We are supporting Ukraine because we wanted to see Eurovision in Ukraine, because that would mean that the war is over, and that would be amazing.
That's the meaning.